This is week 3 of my training for the half marathon that I'm doing on the 2nd of March. So on Monday I began the week with a bit of a steady session. So this was 12 kilometers and it was done kind of in and around 20 seconds below my kind of most recent marathon pace. So this is kind of in around 4:10ish per kilometer. So some kilometers were a little bit quicker and some a little bit slower. So the idea of this is that it's a bit more of an effort than just kind of doing your easy run, but it's also not too kind of strenuous on the body either, because it is that bit slower than kind of your maybe race pace. So my heart rate was kind of staying in the 160s, so it'll have given me kind of a big fitness benefit, and also just got the legs kind of used to going a little bit faster than just at an easy pace, but it doesn't fatigue the body too much. It's also quite short, it's like less than an hour, so didn't really fatigue the body too much, and the legs will be fine for sessions in the next few days. So I did this in the Adidas Takumi Sen, so kind of nice lightweight shoe, built for kind of shorter runs, up to maybe 10-15k, and yeah, basically went to plan. Heart rate stayed within the kind of zones I was looking for, so yeah, a good kind of base builder, this one. So then later in the evening I did my second run of the day. So this was a 16-kilometer run at just kind of my easy effort pace, so not focusing too much on heart rate in these runs. It's basically all about just going by the effort and make sure that it feels nice and easy, and again that's not going to fatigue the legs. So did this one in the Asics Nova Blast 3s, and again all went well. So in total for Monday I covered 28k, and it was kind of all relatively easy running. So then moving on to Tuesday, and again the plan was to do a double session. So got up early in the morning, planned to do a 16-kilometer easy run, but seemed to be coming down with some sort of illness kind of overnight, and the body was just quite weak. So I basically midway through the run kind of adapted my route and just changed it to 10 kilometers, and that was it for the day. So I kind of knew that I was coming down with something, kind of had a sore throat and bit of a temperature, as well as just kind of pains through my body, so I figured keep this one just short, scrap it, because it wasn't going to do my body any benefit by going longer, and it probably would have meant I'd be sicker for longer. So I don't actually know what this was. It kind of only lasts for about 24 hours, this sickness, but I decided I wouldn't do my second session of the day, so in total on Tuesday I just covered 10k. So then coming on to Wednesday, and usually Wednesday for me is a speed session, so I'll go to the track and do some intervals. I wasn't sure kind of what to do in the morning, so I basically left my run this day until the evening, and I wasn't planning on doing any doubles to make up for having missed a run on Tuesday. I wouldn't recommend trying to make up missed runs. Things happen and you just have to kind of go with it. You'll always miss some runs, so it's okay. But yeah, I was kind of making a decision throughout the day whether to go to the track and give it a shot, or whether to just take this as an easy run. So in the end I decided I'd just do an easy run. I did 17 kilometers, and I think I took a gel in this run just to kind of make sure that I kind of had the energy to do it. But if I had felt like I didn't have any energy at all, I would have cut this one short again and just give the body the time that I'd obviously wanted and would need to recover, but I didn't feel too bad on this one. I went by the motto that if your symptoms are kind of above the neck, so I had like a sore throat and a headache, but my body was not really in pain anymore. So yeah, the motto is kind of that if symptoms are above the neck, easy kind of level of exercise is okay. So yeah, I went with that one. And for this run I was wearing the Nike Invincibles 3, so a nice easy run shoe and plenty of cushioning and stuff. So when it came to Thursday's run, I was feeling a little bit better, but again kind of not fully back to normal, and I decided that I'd already missed a speed session, so I would just kind of leave it in the past, and again not try chase a lost session. So this one was a bit of an easier run, but I wanted to try something in it. So I was working on my ground contact time, which is basically the amount of time that your foot obviously spends hitting the ground as you kind of do your stride. So if you can make this kind of a sharp snappy movement, which is kind of what running drills work on doing, you'll find that you go a little bit faster for the same effort. So I was kind of working on that during this run, because it was just an easy run, and I've been doing a lot of easy runs in the week, and I didn't feel like I should do strides, because again that's pushing the effort level up, and still wasn't feeling the best. So this is kind of the compromise I made, working on my ground contact time. So I did find that I was actually going about maybe 10 seconds faster per kilometer, but this did kind of fatigue my kind of hip, which I've had a bit of a niggling injury on in the past. So I didn't want to basically incorporate this into every run that I start to do, but I may incorporate this into future runs. It's just something that kind of works on form and efficiency, and it will make you faster, but probably the best way of doing this is running drills rather than going out for a run, which in this case was 19 kilometers, so quite a long run, and incorporating this at the same time. So that's a lot of time to do something your body's maybe not used to doing. But yeah, it went fine for me in the end, and I kind of finished or stopped doing the kind of drill that I was doing when I began to feel a bit of hip fatigue. So that's probably the best way to do it if you're doing it the way I did it on a run rather than as opposed to doing it with drills. But yeah, overall this was just an easy run at a slightly faster pace because of that, but same kind of effort level and heart rate level. So for Friday, I didn't actually end up running. I did plan to go on a run, and usually I would use Friday as a speed session, but basically ended up not having time with kind of work was busy, and then I had some stuff to do in the evening, so basically just did not get a chance to do a run on Friday. But on Saturday, I went into a double session, so I considered doing a park run, but still had this niggling throat pain, so the headache was kind of gone, but it's just the throat pain. So I just didn't think my body was 100%. I didn't want to go kind of with any intensity into a park run, which I'd be trying to run a fairly fast time at. So decided to just do 2 easy runs again today, and just focus this week basically entirely on mileage and not really speed, just with being sick. So the first run was 15 kilometers, nothing kind of crazy in this. I wasn't trying any drills or anything in this one, just a fairly easy run. So 15 kilometers, 4:49 pace per kilometer, and then later on in the evening I just added just under another 12 kilometers to that at around a similar pace, and that was basically it for the day. The reason I did 2 runs in this day is that I was kind of again trying to hit a mileage goal for the week, and I was a fair ways off that. So basically by adding these 2 runs, it's kind of nearly about 27 kilometers for the day, so kind of brought me up to where my mileage needed to be, for including adding on my Sunday mileage, to kind of increase how much I ran this week compared to the previous week. By it was only kind of around a 10 kilometer increase, but it was something I wanted to do. It's kind of just a progressive build, and then I'm going to go into a deload leading into the half marathon. So it was kind of one of the last chances to build that mileage up, which will give me as much fitness as possible. It takes the body about 2 weeks to adapt to the training you've done, which is when the half marathon that I'm doing is 2 weeks from this Sunday. So that's kind of why I was trying to focus so much on getting as much mileage in as I possibly could. So then moving on to Sunday session, which was the long run. So overall this was a 32 kilometer run. The previous week I'd done 30 kilometers, and the reason I'd done that was that I wanted to build that kind of distance into this session, and just incorporate a bit of speed work in as well. So the way that I'd split this up was a 10 kilometer warm up at just kind of an easy, comfortable pace, then 4 sets of 3 kilometers kind of at around half marathon effort, with a 2 kilometer flow in between. The reason that was 2 kilometer flow in between was pretty much to focus on kind of getting the actual effort sustained for the full 3 kilometers, but also to kind of increase the distance that I was covering. So it was a bit of a chance for the heart rate to come right back down, and the body to kind of feel comfortable again, and then go back into the hard work. So obviously the fact that I'd done 10 kilometers before I began any speed work meant that I was starting a little bit more tired than obviously I would just start a race. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of use this session as a way of building the speed into the long run. So the 3 kilometer reps probably were a bit slower for the effort that I was putting in than I would have liked. I'm aiming for a sub 120 half marathon off kind of a 4-week build with speed working. So I'm not fully sure how that's going to go, but I've kind of set myself a challenging effort, rather than just go for some time that I know that I can definitely pull off. It won't be a PB for me or anything. My PB is in 118s. This is just more of a kind of, I guess, a race to build into my marathon training block. It was just something to build towards before I get into the actual marathon work itself. So the 3 kilometer splits were 3:49 per kilometer, 3:45, 3:45, and then 3:47. So that's the average between the entire 3 kilometers. So I don't have the individual kilometer breakdown of that, but it's not too important. It's the overall. And in a race I'll do something similar, so I'll set my watch up to tell me kind of probably in a half marathon about every 3 kilometers what my average pace for that was. In a marathon I do it over 5 kilometers, and this just kind of stops you from focusing on each individual kilometer, where if you're maybe 5 seconds slow on one, you feel like you have to push and get 5 seconds faster on the next one. So this kind of prevents you from going basically up and down totally different paces the whole time, and teaches you to put in a more sustained effort. Yeah, in total this run 32 kilometers, 12 kilometers of that was kind of quite hard speed work, and the rest relatively easy running. The 2 kilometer floats will have started as a bit harder than just an easy run, but I wasn't doing them at kind of any sustained pace. It was just more of a kind of floaty pace, just to let the body recover. So mostly that would have been just easy work. So this has kind of a double benefit. So I'm building up my aerobic engine and my anaerobic engine. So that's aerobic is working with oxygen going to the muscles, and anaerobic is when basically you're working so hard that the body can't supply enough oxygen to the body. So by working on that, I'm basically increasing my body's capacity to kind of deal with that, and to supply the oxygen that's needed. So over time that'll build up. So like I said a little bit earlier in the video, this is 2 weeks before the actual race, so this will allow my body to have time to adapt to that training, and basically get the benefits out of this session as much as possible. So this is kind of the last big session before the actual half marathon itself. The rest of my training will be just sort of ticking along and begin a taper, and then the week of the half marathon I'll do a fair bit less mileage as well, and then just see how it goes. So with this half marathon, it's what I'd refer to as a B race, so it's not really important to me. I'm not trying to set a new PB or anything. It's just something that I'm more incorporating into training, and it'll help me build to the more important races, which would be your A races, which for me is the Geneva Marathon in May. So after I will upload next week's training video, and then I'll do a video on the half marathon itself, and after that I'll be basically straight into marathon training, maybe 1 or 2 days off after the half marathon. But yeah, building straight into the marathon block, then I'll have about 10 weeks. So if you enjoyed this kind of video with my training and stuff, yeah, give me a like and subscription, and you can follow along to my training for the Geneva Marathon, and you'll also see how I got on in the Middlesbrough half marathon. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed.